Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building the city of Verde Beach, and we are taking a look at the land value of the city. And I'm showing you this because in the previous episode, I spoke a little bit about land value and housing affordability. And if we take a look around Verde Beach, what you can see is that there are many areas of the city that are very, very expensive. And today we are going to help with that, well, what would help in reality, which is helping to create cheaper building materials. There are many reasons why homes are expensive. It could be a supply and demand mismatch, or it could be something like a development boundary, a growth boundary. We've seen that in some communities such as Boulder or Portland, land values have been pressed up as the finite resource of land itself becomes more scarce. But in Verde Beach, what is going to be propping up our land values, or our property values rather, is the lack of raw materials. They've all been imported into the city thus far, and Johnson Aggregates is going to do something about this. They've been eyeing Verde Beach after the new governor, Governor Johnson, came and visited Verde Beach. She was amazed that all of this development has occurred without any aggregate. So we are going to open up the Verde Beach branch of Johnson Aggregates. But first, I want to do something that we talked about a little bit in the previous episode, and that is put out a fire. Kidding. We are going to rename the Thornton District, and I'm really excited about this name that was developed. This is something that Russell Scott came up with. Russell Scott has called the new neighborhood Bakersboro, since the farm served some bakeries. And I really, really like that, so let's go ahead and do that. And I think that that is an absolutely wonderful name. The second name, so we have this Sheffield district, and we're going to use Vale's name of Tobin Plains, named after Tobin Thornton, who was a lifelong employee at Hamilton Farms and a close friend of the Hamilton family. Very, very great story, and we're going to go for it. Then the other comment that I wanted to point out is this comment from Helen Fries Anderson. And what Helen says is that there are two bike path bridges, one right here and one right here, that no longer make sense. And I agree, these were there to get over the rail that is now underground. So we are going to change this up a little bit before we get building. Okay, so we have taken out the bridges that are no longer necessary, and I like the effect of that. Now, I think that those bridges would likely remain until they reach the end of their useful life. There'd probably be some bikers that want to retain them for some of the views, and then just as many for accessibility reasons that would want to see those taken down. Ultimately, I think it's a pretty good change. We still have the viaduct there that doesn't really, again, that is very similar to this bike path. Doesn't necessarily need to be there. That said, we'll leave it for the time being because it allows us to have a nice connection to our bike network without a lot of interruptions. And I appreciate that. It's nice to have an uninterrupted bike facility. So there we go. So let's talk a little bit about where this new industry is going to go and why it won't go in some places. So if we look at our natural resources view, you can see that most of our ore is in places that are difficult to access. So right here is likely our biggest patch in the entire city, and we have a highway and a roundabout right there. And then we have our park, which we're not going to allow mining in. So there's that. And then right here, we have right at the base of our farm on the side of this hill, another area. And again, this is an area that, I think that the Hamiltons would absolutely be up in arms if this were to occur in this area. And then we have Palma de Fuego, which we are absolutely not going to sully. So that leaves us right here with Pyrotechnic. Again, not a good place for a variety of reasons. And then we come over here. Now this could work if it weren't for these ruins. So there would be a number of people at the suggestion of the Johnson's Aggregates coming over here that would be up in arms. You cannot sully one of the only historic landmarks that we have in the city with a mine. So now we're starting to get really far out, or there's one more spot that we could look. This is our location. Now this is an ideal location for a variety of reasons. First of all, if we take a look at our views, pop into here, why don't we put a placeholder? We'll just see if we can see this. So I'll place this rock here temporarily. So if we see that rock from anywhere, that'll tell you that we might be able to see a smokestack. So from here, we're gonna see something. And then if we come over here, now this is Sterling Heights. And if you'll notice something, Sterling Heights is below that district, which means that the opposition from this neighborhood is lessened. Now they're going to oppose it. I mean, mine is going to be opposed no matter what, no matter how necessary it is. It's going to be opposed. The steepest opposition will come from the steepest part of the city, and ultimately, this is going to hinder their views. There's not much I can do about it, and there's not much that they're going to be able to do about it either, short of hide it behind some trees. So that's what we're going to try to do. This is going to be the home of our new industry. So let's go ahead and paint our district. We'll come over here, put our natural resources view on, and then come over. Actually, we'll just we'll just get into our district painter. Now I want to paint basically everywhere that this exists. And we're going to remove trees from here, which I think is something that they would do right off the bat. Get rid of the trees so that they have a clear pad to work with. Now, interestingly, this goes into the water, but this isn't big enough that we can really do much with it. So, Hamilton Industrial Valley. That's not what we're going to go with. We're going to go with, well, we'll rename it after we get our district building there. All right, so I want to go through now, pop in here, and I want to delete some of these trees so that we can better see our industry area. Okay, and that might have seemed super random to you for me doing that. The main reason why I wanted to do that is now you can better see the industrial, or the actual potential of this area. And what you can see is that it was a little bit skewed. There is some darker colors here, but then there are areas over here where it's not going to be nearly as productive. So we just need to be cognizant of this as we are developing our area, and maybe focusing along this shore is going to be a little bit better. So there we go. Let's place our first road. We'll turn on our natural resources view, and I'm really curious. We're going to do something we can't normally do. Contours with natural resources. We're going to come through here and place our first road. This will be where our main district building lives. We are going to connect up. Another reason why I absolutely adore this spot of land is we have this interchange right here that does not have a secondary ramp to get off the highway. So we could take advantage of that right here. So we'll come down, bring this, let's pop into our contours. You can see the contours work perfectly for us. Let's find the middle of this right here. We'll find a new middle, one that I like more. And now we are going to come through and make this connection. There we go. Now we're going to do something more significant with this. I think that we need to have some sort of gate into here. Johnson Aggregates did this in the previous build in Clearwater County, and they're absolutely going to do that here as well. They want to control access to the site to ensure that unauthorized personnel is not able to get in, or unauthorized individuals in general. Obviously, if they have unauthorized personnel, maybe they have a bigger problem. That means that they've likely been let go. All right, so here is the start of our industrial area, and we are going to place our main building right here. So we'll come through here, go into our ore industry, and pop our main building. It goes right in the center. Perfect. I absolutely love that. So to start out, we're going to rename this. There we go. So we are going to need to get some extractors in place, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time up front making this look perfect. And the main reason for that is that we are going to be replacing some of these as things level up. So let's go ahead. We're going to place our first road, and I'm going to follow the hillside. There we go. And then I'm going to get power and water here just so I don't forget about it. And we'll put that underneath the road and underneath the highway. So maybe it's not exactly where it belongs, but it'll work. It'll do the trick. And there we go. We have power, which means that our district is finally operational. So I want to just stretch this out just to make sure that we're covering up everything. There we go. So we'll get some, we don't really have a lot available to us right now. We have our small ore mine, our ore grinding mill, and then some sand storage. So really limited in what we are able to do. So we'll just need to make do with what we have. So what I think we're going to start out with, if we take a look at our resources, this looks like it's some of the more productive land. We are going to place a few of these. Okay, and what this is going to do, very ugly. We're going to fix it. It's not going to look like this at the end, I promise. I want to take an inventory of what we have right now. So let's speed this up and get producing, and we'll see what our industry looks like. Okay, so we need to get to 150 workers 500 units produced. So we are going to get to that with a little bit of extracting, and we're going to need to process this some too. I want to look at our policies though. So right here, we can increase the storage capacity of extractors and processing buildings with this. We have plenty of money, so we're going to do that. Worker safety supervision, which will make this a more desirable place to work. We'll do that. And automation will increase production output and building upkeep by 10%. We're going to do that too. We're just going to spend all the money on this. And though we're losing money, I think it's completely fine. So let's also have some extractor buildings, or some processor buildings. Now, these don't need to be placed in the productive area. In fact, I would say that it's a pretty bad idea to place this in productive land. So we're going to extend Johnson Aggregates down. And one thing I want to think about right off the bat is what we do with this road, because this is currently a gigantic cul-de-sac. We don't want to leave that as our end game, because it is certainly not. That is not our goal, to have a gigantic cul-de-sac. So we're going to send this around, and we'll send that straight road out from there. So this will give us some space to terraform down the line. And truthfully, the main reason I'm concerned about that at all is because right here, we don't have any processing availability or ability to process this land for ore. So we might as well do our processing and storage in this location. In fact, I think that you could make a good argument to move this away from here, but I do think there's some efficiency in having your extractor and then your holding building right there as well. So we're gonna leave that for the time being, but that could move in the future. This is going to be in basically our main arterial through here. So I don't want to place our extractors right on this road. So we are going to extend this out a bit. And then we'll place this right off here. We're gonna go right away with 4. Now I'll show you the math behind this in just a moment, but I want to get these placed quickly. And we are going to use my favorite asset, the one that I created. I saw questions about this in the previous episode. Where did I get this? I thought we weren't doing assets in Verde Beach. Well, I made this one. And I made it using the tools available in the game. So I'm letting this one slide. PC players, you would be able to create this. Unfortunately, on a console, you are not able to use the asset maker. I do think that it is still a vanilla tool, so I'm going to go with it. If you didn't have the internet and you had the game, you could still make this if you had a PC. So we're going to go with it. So we got a little parking lot, a couple of extractors. So each one of these is going to process about 3,500 units. These are going to vary because this is not prime or producing land. We're going to click on each of these. This one right here, this is prime land. We're getting 5,000 units per week, and we come down. You see that we're getting around 5. This one's super productive right here. So is this one. This one's less so. This one is one of the least productive mines that we have. And that all comes down to our resource availability. It kind of peters off down here, I guess. It looks like it's very productive. In fact, maybe if we had a bigger extractor that went further back, we'd be in a better place. The main point of this is to get our worker count up and our resource extraction in a better place. We're also going to need some warehousing, and we're going to place that right on the other side of the road. So we'll pop into here. This doesn't help with our worker count, but it's still an absolute of this. So we'll place this here, and this produces metals. So we are going to store some metals. There we go. Looking good. Looking, okay, maybe that's the wrong way. Looking acceptable. All right, so we have this road here and we should use it. So let's just bring this on down. We'll look at our terrain because we want to respect our topography. And this, if we went straight in, is not respecting our topography. So I could pull it in right here. That would be fine. The other thing I could do is pull it further up here, cut in, and maybe switch back around a bit. Don't even know that that's totally necessary. We probably want to come back through and come up this way. I think that what I'm going to do is make our connection here. In the future, we're likely going to have the Johnson family pay for a bit of transit to this area, which is something that can happen from time to time, where a company really sees the need for transit for their employees. They will go above and beyond on their own and cover the cost of that. So it's something that, you know, at least in my area, happens maybe more often than you realize. That you think that a route doesn't belong, you know, quote unquote, belong to a private company, but it indeed does. And that is because they are paying the local share of that route. So our worker count is almost there. We are going to speed this up and get to our next milestone. Okay, and we are getting close with our production, but I can see that the workers it's a real struggle right now. So the Johnson family is going to create a little bit of a workers town, something so that they could recruit some employees to stay here. This will be a lower income area, most likely, although mining does pay very well. So it'll probably just be some employees that work in this area that work directly for the company are able to purchase their home. With this, we'll make it very small. Okay, so we have a little bit of a main street right here, and then everything else will basically be residential. Now, the one thing that I want to consider here is that I don't want zoning along this road, so we're going to go ahead and upgrade this, and I'm going to create a development pattern that you're going to likely be very concerned about, and truthfully, I am as well. So, don't feel like you're alone. This is a high-speed road which lacks sidewalks, which means everyone has to drive to work, which I don't love, but they do happen. And this is certainly a more rural build, so I'd expect to see it here. We've got a signalized intersection there. That's good. Here, coming up to this, we're likely going to slow down traffic through the industry area for safety reasons. But here, we're not going to. We're not going to worry about it. We're going to let people Autobahn it through here. So there we go. And I'm going to bring water pipes through here. And we are going to have some higher density, not a lot. We are going to place the higher density nearest the industry area, which might seem counterproductive, but I'll explain why in just a moment. So I'm thinking that we're going to have some paths through here, and this will allow folks to get to work in a fairly efficient way. So I want to go ahead and add a district over this because we want to have the schools out policy, and we're going to name this right after the Johnson family. Johnsonville, like the bratwurst. And we're going to have, instead of education boost, we're going to have schools out. There we go. So you come through here, schools out for the summer, and we're going to make all of these level 1 buildings historical. So rather than whack-a-mole, we're going to play freeze in place. So red light, green light, maybe? So as I say, we're not doing whack-a-mole. I take a look at this building right here, and I'm very unhappy with how tall it is. So we are going to play a little bit of whack-a-mole. I don't want any super tall buildings come up. I want smaller apartment buildings, something of a scale that makes sense in this area. And while we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and add in a pedestrian connection here. So the reason why I'm making this a pedestrian connection and not a road is we don't want trucks to feel like this is an appropriate cut through. It is not. This is just a place where folks would have the ability to walk to work if they worked right here at this factory area. We are now at level 2. We are a number of workers away. So that is certainly a concern. We are going to really kick this into high gear though, because we've unlocked a number of buildings that are going to help us out. So if we take a look at our industrial area, what we now have unlocked, looks like we have a small underground ore mine. We've got our glass manufacturing plant, and we've got our workers barracks. So I think we have an opportunity with these to do something that's kind of unique. So first of all, the historical building, another one right there. And why don't we work these workers barracks into the city? So this will require us to again extend our industry area out. I'm good with it though. I think that it's totally fine. We're just taking over this entire community. And considering they made it, I guess that makes sense. So there we go. So right here, we're going to add a few of these in. We're going to give them some separation and space. Now, in a little bit of an interesting twist, we don't have enough employees for some of our commercial buildings here. And these are really necessary buildings. We have a marketplace, a drugstore. That's the sort of use I'd expect to see springing up here. That said, no workers, mostly because we're probably stealing them to work at the mining industry, which is exactly where I would want to work, I guess, if I were looking to make the most money in this little area. So we're going to upgrade this, make this a proper little community with decent streets. Except for here, where apparently this is too close. So let's just temporarily relocate that. And now it hates this. So we were going to place it there. Now, I wanted this little campus so that we could have some paths going through there, something to keep all of these workers entertained. Although there's something else that we could do as well. Now, I'm imagining this to be something similar to what you see in North Dakota, where when there is a boom cycle, you'll see lots of trailers springing up as folks need to find places that they need to live. They're not moving to North Dakota permanently. They're there simply because of the industry. And that is what we're seeing here as well. Okay, so all of our high density is now historical, so we are in a good place. And everything is level 1, which is exactly what I want. I don't want these to start improving and looking ritzy. That is not why these exist. These exist to serve the industry. So all right, now that we have this, we need to continue building. So our resources are almost where they need to be. We're about 75 shy for our workers, and we can solve some of this by getting some glass manufacturing. So it also looks like our storage is not functioning as well as it could be. So what we're gonna do is pull this road back through and provide another outlet. There's a lot of traffic on this road. We'll have a local reliever. So what I wanna do is figure out exactly how big glass manufacturing plant is and the orientation of it. And we could see that that is, so I'm gonna place this and then we'll draw our road just to see, and it looks like we're at 300 units. So if we were coming from here, 300, so we could do that. We didn't respect our topography. And I think that we should take a look and see what's happening here. It's not that bad, but it's bad enough that the game hates it, so I hate it too. So we're gonna back it up just a little bit, and what this is gonna do is allow us to have a little bit of separation. We could put some landscaping back there, or a path, but in my mind, it's just to clean it up a little bit. That's all right in my mind. So there we go. We're gonna add in a few more back here, really start to crank on this. And the industry area continues to grow. Then we'll need a warehouse for this as well, and we are going to again place that over here, set this to glass, and now the circle of life or supply chain is now complete. So there we go. Let's take a look at our terrain, and we're completely fine to curve this over. So here's what we're gonna do. I want to extend this up, say 5 tiles. So we'll go 100, and now I'm gonna curve this in at that road guideline. And that works with the terrain, so I'm completely fine with it. And we'll run this right along the back. And what you'll see right away is that we got that ore mining truck coming back here already, and that is perfect. So our ore storage is at capacity. We're gonna need to do something about that. And what we might want to take a look at, I believe that we unlock at some point. We've got these large ore storage. I don't like these. We've got this right here, and this is what I really want to use. These industry, they're kind of shed looking things. So I think we're going to hold out for those because these are just massive. And now that we have all these factories, we should start to absorb some of this. Let's take a look at our ore industry area and see what we're doing. We're importing some, which is weird. I guess when we take a look, we're actually exporting a ton. So outputting raw ore a ton. So that's really unfortunate that we are importing anything. I'm not sure why that's occurring, but it could have been simply the lack of connectivity through here. Now that we've improved connectivity, we are going to stop importing stuff. We definitely want to stop importing. That's not good. Not ideal in my estimation. So we now have over the number of workers that we need. We just need to produce the right number of raw resources and get to level 3. Okay, so we've leveled up to level 3, and I'm excited about that because that gives us some more buildings to play with. So we are importing almost half of what we're doing, and we're losing money because of that. So it's unfortunate. It's all because of this. It's set to balanced, but it's not working the way that we want it to. So I'm gonna set this, I'm gonna leave it at balanced. I could set it to empty, and maybe it would empty things out a bit further or a bit faster. Let's see if that helps. I'm not sure if they're gonna export all of this, which is not what I want. So that's what I'm thinking is gonna happen, but we'll see. We'll keep an eye on this, and maybe more importantly, we'll keep an eye on this and see if that improves things. And interestingly, it looks like after I set that, we stopped importing. So maybe the game is smart enough to get it. So there we go. And let's see what we've unlocked. Now have a medium ore mine, which I'm excited about. We have this seabed mining vessel, which is not going to work here. So it's just way too big. You can see that it goes into the island. So unless we get rid of the island or get very creative, I guess we could do it here. But I wouldn't think that it's worth it. Yeah, we're looking at 5,500 units, 5,800 units a week. Oh, this would be worth it if we carved back. That would be worth it. That is a lot of production right there. But still, I don't know that it's something that we need to take a look at. We've also got a rotary kiln plant now. We're going to do something with that. And that's about it. So the main thing I want to do is convert some of these extractors that we have into something more substantial. So I'm going to remove all of these. And this is just a simple math equation. We get higher numbers with about the same space if we use these medium extractors. I like the way that they look, but let's maybe not overdo it. So we'll have a couple through here. Now I'm trying to envision how this is going to look in its final form, because we're not going to remove all of these. Oh yeah, now we got some extraction going on. There we go. So we are going to be just extracting a ton. You see our worker level just jumped through the roof. We've got a ton of available jobs. So I'm very pleased to see that. And if we pop in here, we can see 44. That's disappointing. 42. So this is actually doing more. This is that soft part that we were talking about earlier. As we get further down, now we're at 9,000 units here. That's pretty great. And truthfully, this is probably one of the better spots that we could have got a medium extractor and we didn't get it in there. That's okay though. We can live with that. And then we have a whole bunch of extraction that's working pretty well along the coast. It kind of peters off as we get further down. So you might wonder, why did you do this, Phil? This looks terrible. What are you gonna do? We're gonna work with rocks. So this is something that I enjoy doing sometimes, and I also fear it most of the time. And that is because you can really screw up the water. And we had this experience in Playa de Matero. So we're gonna try not to recreate that monstrosity. So this triangle rock is one of my favorites, and one of the reasons why is you can see I can overlap the buildings somewhat and create kind of a messy effect here, which is what I'm looking for. I think that it makes it feel a little bit more natural. One of the problems with all these assets is they just feel very manicured, and that is not exactly how an ore industry or aggregate industry would look. So you can overlap these, make it feel like it's blending in. And the main reason for that is this quote-unquote building or prop there's a little area in the center where it actually exists, and the rest of it is kind of just overlapping flop. So this works well for this. Okay, so we do have a bit of that funky water stuff going on. You can see in some places it's looking pretty good, and others it's not so good. So what that likely is I just placed a couple of too many things right there. So you could just get rid of something and try something else. See if that does a little bit better. I think I'll just remove one there, and hopefully that improves the way that this is working. Seems like it's just a little bit too much for that area, and you start to see it fill in some of those crevices and cracks a little bit. So I'm pretty pleased with how this turned out. I think that we could certainly come through and add some smaller rock details through here if we wanted to. But I have another solution for that, and it's my favorite, my go-to, and that is really some of these grassy areas just to kind of clean up this, cover it up, make it feel a little bit more wild and unkept and untamed, untamed. So the other consideration, especially with these rocks, is that if we turn on our contours, we can actually modify our rocks a bit. So I can come through here, select a height, and pull my rocks up, which might make the water operate a bit nicer in here. So let's just do that a little bit. And I'm not sure if that helped. This is certainly taller. That's a thing. I think it might look a little bit better. You see, this one looks pretty good. That is the effect that we'd prefer to see, not this crevicing, which is a thing. So there we go. I think that's looking a little bit better. There's a little bit of imperfection there, but it's looking pretty darn good. I'm gonna go ahead and fill in the last bit of landscaping, and we'll be right back. Okay, so let's take inventory of where we are at, and right now we are just below our worker threshold, which I think we can rectify if we get some of our kilns operational. I'm going to try to keep these as far away from these homes as I can, and we are going to place them somewhere out in the ether. So look at our terrain so we can try to respect our topography. This will be on a bit of a hill, which is unfortunate, but a little unavoidable. Now, again, I'm not 100% sure just how big this building is, so we're going to need to take a look at that. So we'll come through here, and this is huge. In fact, all of that rock work we just did, we're about to take it out if I listen to my poor judgment right there. I don't love that road, but it could be worse. I think we're going to go with it. So again, I think we're going to add a couple of these plants. This time we're going to pop it next to each other to make it feel like it's a part of one larger complex. And I'm going to add a whole bunch of parking on the other side of the road. And we should have respected our topography because now we have this. And we'll need to rectify that. Okay, so these are going to be producing metals, so we're going to want to look at our storage here. Glass is pretty full, so is metal, and we're going to need additional storage in this area. We also are going to need to upgrade some of our roads. Haven't really been keeping track of that. Let's go ahead. Because this is going to be a main road, we will upgrade this and lose some of our rocks. We can't do that. We can't do that. That's not okay. So there we are, right back with some rocks. Okay, so let's go ahead and we are going to add another road off from this because I don't want to place this storage directly on this road. Probably shouldn't have done that, our processing buildings, but we did it. We'll live with a bit of, we'll deal with a little bit of uses that are going to dump a bunch of traffic onto this road, but we don't want to do too much of that if we can avoid it. It does happen though. So I think because these are larger, we're going to go with a larger warehouse. Again, we'll set this to metals because that's what we're producing right here. We're going to need to make this look a little bit better because this is what happens when you do not respect your topography. I am just in total disrespect mode. Maybe I just want the topography to respect me for once. Although I feel like this isn't too bad. So I'm loading this back up with trees, and the primary reason for that is this was a forested area. I think that'd be part of the deal, is that, you know, yeah, you can remove these trees, but we're going to request that you put them back in once your buildings are in place. Maybe they even have their workers help with this to add these through. So these will do a few things. It'll dampen the noise. It will hide the use itself because it's not attractive. I guess I shouldn't say that. Maybe someone really likes the way that these look. And I am deeply offending you right now, and I apologize for that. That was not my intention. I absolutely, if you like these, I hope that you live next to one. I'm kidding. Although I used to live next to something that looked like this, paper mill. And, yeah, you know, besides the smell, it's kind of interesting to look at night. They have lights on all of the stacks, and, you know, it gives a sense of that maybe you wouldn't otherwise see. Now this is unfortunately spaced. Maybe that's the best way that I could put it. It's just unfortunately spaced. All right, so now with this, we are just a couple of workers away. Many, many, many resources passed. By many, many, I mean like 20. So the way that we're going to resolve this, I think, is to add in additional housing for our workers. So we'll add some more barracks in, because we could still use additional bonuses. And interestingly, I thought we got our maintenance building sooner, but we did not. But workers will work here, so that's a thing. So added 2 of those, it got our efficiency bonus up about 20%, and now we're just 44 workers away. And I'm going to make a connection to this road, another outlet. This isn't a cul-de-sac, but it's basically a cul-de-sac. So we're going to do a little bit better. We can do better. So that'll be a bit of an outlet there. You know, this area doesn't have any city services, and, you know, I could certainly see the demand for said city services. I could also see it just not having it in any significant way, besides the one that the industry cries out for, which would be fire protection. So we're going to place that right along this road here, and police coverage is okay, but I think that we're going to go with that as well. And I'm going to go with some of these European assets to vary it up a little bit, because we don't have quite as many of them in the build. And I'll even throw in healthcare back here as well. So the reason why I'm placing it here is this provides a great deal of access. We've got these high-speed roads, so you'd see some benefit potentially even up here. I'm going to go with it. I think it's a wise decision. Now we'll connect those up. And the very last thing I want to do before we just let this go for a minute to reach our next level, just extend that down. So now we have local roads through here. I think that you could certainly make a case, and the only problem now, we have a forest fire. Where is this? Where is the forest fire? I don't see it. I don't see it. It can't be all the trees I just planted, can it? Okay, I guess it's not, it hasn't happened yet, but it will happen. And we'll just need to be cognizant of that. So what I was thinking is, right now, you can sneak into this industry area now that I've added this road. So that is the one drawback. But truthfully, it's already here too. So if we want to rectify it, we need to add in a gate right here. So a little mulligan. I'd say that the mulligan I'm about to make is a bigger one. So forgive me, it's happening. So this land would have been donated by the industry for these specific uses. They couldn't mandate that they occur, but they could certainly request them, and giving the land is certainly a way to make it happen. So I think that that is a good and wise decision by the industry. So let's see. I do not know, where did that, no fires, one tree on fire, and it was a forest fire. That was a real bad one by Verde Beach standards. So, okay, well, what are you gonna do? So we are just about 25 workers away. I'm gonna let this sit for a minute and get to our next level, where we're gonna place a couple of the assets that I've been most excited about. Truthfully, we're gonna fudge it. We're just gonna make it happen. And the way that we're gonna make it happen is placing some things that I don't actually want, that we're gonna get rid of, but will help us get there quickly. Now, interestingly, this did not help us, not a bit. So what that tells me is we've got another solution that we could take, and that is transit. This will be a private route funded by the Jackson. I completely screwed up my naming. Well, what are you gonna do? So there we go. Johnson Aggregates. So there we go. So what we are gonna do now is form a bus route paid for by the company. So what we're gonna do is just start this probably right in front of the company, because we'll be able to do a loop through here, have a stop by the factories, come back here to Sterling Heights, add a stop, and then through here, we'll have a stop in our little community, and right back here. So that doesn't really help us back here. You'll need to be able to walk. It is walkable, technically. So I think that's not that bad. Here, I think we could use another pedestrian connection. And again, trying to get people to where they need to go, their jobs. I'm thinking about it. There's a couple of buildings that just keep abandoning. We're gonna do something that's gonna be a little bit fun. So why don't we paint just a mini district within here? And the reason I want to do that is we're going to have just a little tiny leisure right through here. So I'm thinking maybe a bar and a gym. There we go. Johnson Square. There we go. And it's funny, we've got this central hotel here. I just don't see that as a rational use. I'm going to try to look at these uses that make some sense and keep them historical. What do we get here? We got... It's a bowling alley. That's great. And here, nightclub Happy Hamster, which seems totally rational as well. So we're gonna go for that. Place to grab a beer, a place to bowl, let loose. So there we go. It's going to make all the residents in this area very sad. Shouldn't have moved next to the commercial district if you didn't expect there to be a bit of noise. So now I've got to fix the water pipes here. And we're going to take a look at our bus route just to see how performance is going on this. Bus route 22, we'll call this 21. And I'm curious. Let's look at our vehicles and maybe we'll put something a little different out here. I'm thinking we could go with a minibus. There's really no one using this route. So why not go with something a little different? So I've been reluctant to add more extraction, but that would be another way to reach our milestones. So I'm going to go for it. I'm going to add a small underground mine right here. That is 35 workers. And one of the reasons I wanted to add this asset in particular is we can do something interesting with it. So if we place this, one of the things that I like about this so much is we can grab our favorite high vegetation and actually have it encroach right upon this asset pretty extensively, which I think makes it look like it's kind of just hidden in there. Really like that. So this is not an ideal location for this. We have all this loading and what is basically a collector for this area, but we're gonna roll with it. I think we're gonna be okay. We got a couple workers through there. Again, I don't love the location of these. It kind of breaks what I was trying to do, but we only have these couple of ore storage areas, and I'm gonna replace these with warehouses once I have the ability, which is right now. Thank goodness. That got us up to our next level. And so this is what I want, these ore storage buildings. I think they look really cool. I am gonna let these just live right along this road, and I'm gonna live with it. Then we will add new paths. Yeah, these are such cool assets. I think they make it feel really, really dense, and that is exactly what the effect I was looking for. Would have loved to get this one more tile away. I thought I got it away. So what we're seeing now is that there's just a bit of funkiness here. Okay, so I just wanted to add some trees through here as I redo and build new neighborhoods. I want to just make sure that it feels like there are some trees here, and these new trees do a good job of it. Now, I wanted to make sure that these areas feel private. If you are working all day, the last thing you want to do is go home and feel like you're looking in your neighbor's window when you're already sharing a bunk bed. That is not something that is super desirable. So we'll just add in a couple of trees through here, but then leave some room to throw a frisbee or something of that nature with your friends. There we go. That's nice. Maybe even a couple of nice palm trees to make it feel, you know, a little ritzier. Little like we appreciate your service here at Johnson Aggregates. And maybe they really like palm trees because they've been suffering through the cold winters of Superior. All right, so I want to take one more look at the other buildings that we unlocked. I think, yeah, we got a fiberglass plant. Again, that's just producing glass, a different kind. We could certainly add that, but I don't think it's super necessary right now. The one building I do need to add, though, is the industry maintenance building. So this building increases our storage capacity of industrial buildings by 5%. And it needs to be placed inside of the industrial area, but there's something interesting about this. Because of the way we set this up, we could certainly add this to this area, which is what I want to do. So we're just going to pop this out, and it'll be like a little warehouse area. I think it's going to be kind of neat. There we go. Kind of blends in here. You could see them going and getting their truck and driving it to work each day, the company vehicles. I like that a lot. And let's really pop in here, see what it feels like to be an employee. I love that. I love that. And I really love a quick city tour. And actually, before we get to that city tour, there are two things that just popped into my head that I am missing. So we're going to take care of those right now. First and foremost is we did not add a fence around here. So we're going to do that right now. And then the second one is actually from the start of the video. where I zoned in the middle of my park. Totally made a mistake. We're gonna rectify that right now. Don't just expect that your fences are gonna do the job for you when you don't put them in. That doesn't do the job. So there we go. Now we'll have our brief city tour. Okay, and as nightfall approaches, I feel like this is a way to take inventory of what we've done today and see how it impacts the rest of the city. So if we are here on this switchback-laden road, you can see the industry area has a significant impact on you. You still get to see your beautiful downtown views, but this is exactly why you were upset. There is lots of digging along the banks of the shore, and maybe you had sights on this being a beautiful park, but instead, you get smokestacks. If you're down here, imagine. Your view is already not as good as the folks at the top, still pretty darn good though. And now you're seeing smoke rising up, and those smokestacks, progress sometimes takes unique forms. Now, if you're over here, say you're in Mill Hills, over here in Mill Hills rather, maybe you're more concerned about the fire. It honestly doesn't really impact you that much. You get to see a little bit of it. There's some light, there's some smokestacks. It's really not that bad. And whoa, we are on fire. I guess the bigger question is if you're over here in Karen's neighborhood, if you had a drone, you'd see it. But even here next to the highway, absolutely nothing. So they have gone silent on this because they don't really care. Holy cow, that is a raging fire at the Lewis Lumber Company if I've ever seen one. So let's pop through here. I just want to take a look and see how we're doing. We're making some money here. That is good. We are still exporting a lot of raw material, but it is doing so in a way that is probably okay. We're storing balanced. That's pretty good. Here, I'm going to set this to balanced as well, just to clean up. And I think that we're in a pretty good place. We're not going to get to level 5 here. And you know what? That's fine. Not every industry needs to be leveled to level 5. This is still producing quite well for us and giving us the ability to build some factories, which is something that is really in the city's interest at this point in time. And Johnson Aggregates is now bigger in Verde Beach than it ever was in Clearwater County, which is something that they were very interested in. There's clearly a need here, and they are fulfilling it. You can see we need new citizens. Our city is growing, things are improving, and until next time, I think that I'm going to be happy with this. I hope that you've enjoyed this build. If you did, please consider hitting the like button. If you are not subscribed, please consider doing so, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.